portfolio level, where you need to ensure the business strategy alignment. When talking about the next framework here we have, which is large scale Scrum for simplicity. So, less or large scale Scrum without adding the complexity by, let's say, keeping one product owner for all of the teams, also using the same sprint cadence for across different teams, and focusing on the empiricism and simplicity. And to understand the difference between the SFE and the less, or let's say the large scale Scrum, and the difference between it and the scaling Agile for large enterprises. So the key, let's say, differences here includes the governance. In terms of governance, is the SFE is more structured. On the other hand, you have the large scale Scrum is less structured. But which one is ideal for what? The SFE is ideal for large enterprises, while the less is ideal for mid-sized companies. Now let's talk about disciplined agile, which is DA, as PMI tailored agile approach. So disciplined agile is not a framework like Scrum or SAV. It's a toolkit that is designed to help organizations to tailor agile approaches based on their unique needs. Unlike rigid frameworks that prescribes a fixed structure, disciplined agile provide a guidance on when and how to apply agile practices in different situations. And the core principle of disciplined agile, including the choice is a key. And choice is a key as a principle. Here it means the organizations should not be forced into one agile framework. Disciplined agile provide decision making guidance. And the next core principle for disciplined agile includes a hybrid approach. And hybrid approach, it's like the disciplined agile integrates the Scrum, Kanban, Lean, and DevOps and traditional approaches, making it highly adaptable. You also have as one of these core principles is enterprise-wide agility. Unlike Scrum, which focuses on development teams, the disciplined agile extends agile principles to finance, human resources, legal, and governance teams. Disciplined agile process decision framework uses a goal-driven choices instead of rigid rules. So the teams choose the best fit agile practices by evaluating the way of working, to understand the best agile model that based on the project needs and based on the project goals and the based on the way of working of the teams. Also, the teams may choose the best fit of agile practices also by evaluating the life cycle. So different work styles, including agile, maybe lean or continuous delivery, and let's say different approaches depends on the life cycle of the project. The third thing that the team can evaluate here to let's say to choose which process to let's say to adopt depends on the governance, and governance is like how the leadership and compliance integrates into agile ways of working. The most important question, selecting the right agile framework. So not every agile framework suits all of the teams or projects. Organization must evaluate their requirements and constraints and scalability needs before selecting a framework. Let's talk now about the key factors for choosing an agile framework. First factor here is the project size and complexity. So small teams might benefit from Scrum, while maybe large enterprises needs the SFE or the less. The next thing you need to consider when choosing, let's say, which is the agile framework that you need to work with, is the team experience. So less experienced teams benefit from Scrum structured approach, while mature agile team can adapt Kanban or disciplined agile. And the third key factor here you need to consider when choosing which agile framework also to choose based on the delivery needs. So if the project needs a continuous delivery, maybe Kanban may be the better choice here, while Scrum is ideal for an iterative development. Again, to summarize, when to use each of these frameworks. So Scrum is made for small to medium sized teams with structured sprints. It's best for Kanban is best for continuous delivery, support the teams, and customer service. Scale Agile framework here is made or best for the large enterprises scaling Agile. When it comes to large scale Scrum for simplicity, or the less, it's best for mid-sized companies scaling Scrums. Finally, you have disciplined agile, and disciplined agile again. We say that it's best for the organizations that needs a flexible and customized agile approach based on their needs. PMI hybrid agile approach, where hybrid approach or hybrid agile combines the elements of both of the predictive waterfall and adaptive agile methodology. So PMI recognizes that some of the organizations need to customize their hybrid approaches, such as maybe Scrum framework with waterfall. It's like mixing agile development with a structured governance model. Also, some organizations might follow Kanban plus or including also large scale agile delivery with continuous flow management when using Kanban. So it depends on all of these key factors: the industry requirements, the team experience, the delivery needs, the project size and complexity, to choose also the organization level, in terms whether it's a big organization, in terms of what they care for. Is it the continuous delivery? Is it a large company who needs to let's say to do utilize the large scale agile delivery? So it depends on all of these factors. Based on that, you can understand which framework that you can utilize. Also, again, in terms of project management, it depends heavily on the project complexity and the project certainty, the project requirements, stakeholder needs, whether they need an iterative or an incremental, let's say, project delivery. So it depends on all of these factors that you need to consider before going with one of these, let's say, approaches or one of these frameworks from Agile. Some of these common challenges in Agile framework implementation that we might have discussed in the earlier session. So, transitioning from Agile is not just about adopting a framework, it involves, let's say, culture and mindset shift. Organization must adopt these, let's say, um, methodologies based on, let's say, the requirements and the needs that we have seen before, but also they need to consider these challenges that they might face when, implementing these agile transitions. So, organization often struggles with, let's say, some resistance to change, and why it happens when there is an employees are comfortable with the traditional methods. They've been using it for years and years, and now it's the time to move to a new methodology. Maybe they have a fear of change, um, for not being able to excel that, let's say, framework. So again, the resistance to change because the employees are comfortable with the traditional methods or other methods. And the solution to overcome this challenge is by providing an agile training to emphasize the benefit of these agile practices, frameworks, and to show the value of it. The next challenge here we have is the lack of executive support. And lack of executive support, it happens because of the leadership does not understand agile benefits. You, as a project manager, you need to align the agile goals with the business objectives and explain to the leadership what would be the benefits of implementing agile practices or agile frameworks. The next challenge here we have is the difficulty scaling agile. And why it happens? It happens because the large organizations struggles with multiple teams, and it's very hard to, let's say, in case that you don't have the bigger picture on how to handle different Scrum teams to serve a certain goal or an objective. So sometimes it happens with this difficulty in scaling agile, different teams and different projects. And to let's say to resolve this issue, to overcome this challenge by implementing the scaled agile framework or the large scaled say frameworks for the structured scaling. The fourth challenge here we have is the inconsistent agile practices. And why it happens? It happens because the teams apply agile differently. Like every team is implementing, let's say, Scrum ceremonies in a different way, leading to some inefficiencies. And to overcome this challenge, you need to have a standardized agile coaching and best practices to show the teams what are the best practices that have been implemented, for example, in adopting a Scrum framework or adopting, say, Kanban. So all of these processes, all of these, let's say, events are standardized, so no one can have a confusion. This is how you resolve the inconsistent agile practices challenge. Let's look at one of these case studies where there's a company agile transformation happened. So a multinational banking institution wanted to replace its legacy system with a modern digital banking application. So this is the project. Initially, the project followed waterfall, but the slow progress and frequent requirement changes led to some of the project delays. And the way of how the project manager and the team has implemented agile transformation approach here is step one is that they started with a pilot agile team. And to start with the first step, they started with a two Scrum teams in the IT departments. So each of these teams have different, let's say, sprint goals. One of them is maybe to overcome the legacy system issues. One of them is maybe to integrate a middleware between the legacy system, for example, and the cloud infrastructure. So this is how you start with, let's say, transitioning from agile from waterfall or traditional to waterfall is by having a pilot agile teams to start with one or two Scrum teams. The next step here is that you need to have a scaling agile, and scaling agile is like introducing the scaled agile framework to align agile teams across different departments. Third step here, you need to have a cultural shift, and the cultural shift is like providing agile training for the executives and business unit to show its let's say benefits. Some of these challenges that were faced with the solution implemented during this case study, some of the challenges is resistance from the senior management to implement agile practices. And the solution implemented to overcome the resistance from the senior management is by agile leadership training. One of also the challenges that the team has faced is the misalignment between the IT and business teams, where the solution implemented, they have introduced the program increment planning sessions to overcome the misalignment issue. Also, with having a daily stand-up meeting on program level, they have overcome the misalignment issue and they kept everyone at the same page. Also, we have one of these challenges where the inconsistent agile adoption, and the solution were implemented is by standardizing the agile processes with disciplined agile. The result of being able to implement these steps, well, resolving, implementing these solution against the challenges we're faced, implementing all of these, let's say, practices to achieve the transformation from the waterfall to agile practices. The project delivery time has reduced by 40%, and it has improved the collaboration between the business and IT teams. Also, Agile expanded beyond the IT department, the human resource department, finance, and risk management departments. Summarize our session here. I know it was a long session, but to recap on what we have learned here in different Agile frameworks, we looked at the key factors in Agile framework selection. We also looked at the best practices for Agile adoption. So, after exploring these various Agile frameworks, the organization should understand the unique benefits of each of the frameworks. Select a framework that based on the project needs, whether it's Scrum for structure or Kanban for flow. For bigger organization and bigger projects running on Scrum, the SAP, and the list for scaling. Also, adopting a hybrid agile approaches when necessary. We looked also about on the best practices for agile adoption, including investing in agile training, also starting with small, then scaling agile, using the agile metrics to measure the performance, like the velocity, the cycle time, and the satisfaction, which we are gonna cover more in depth when we come into the Scrum framework section. So that's all about this session. I know it was a long session, but I'm sure that has a lot of good information that you need to cover as part of your PM.